Kingdoms Part 2, talking about Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. So our kingdom hierarchy, we start off with Eubacteria at the bottom, and then we travel into Archaebacteria. Now from these two kingdoms, all others have arose. Let's get some facts. They are unicellular. They are prokaryotic. They have no nucleus, but they do have a nucleoid region. They are the most abundant on the planet. And all living things have evolved from Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Some identification. Well, first we can look at the shape. Different strains have different shapes, and each different strain can cause a different disease. We can also look at the habitat. Eubacteria tend to live in normal environments, normal temperatures, and normal resources. Now the Archaebacteria are known as extremophiles. They live in the extreme, so extreme temperature and resources, such as high temperatures, thermal vents at the bottom of the ocean, right near volcanoes, low temps in ice in Antarctica, high salt, and even high pressures at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. We also have composition of the cell wall. Eubacteria are classified into two groups. It's called gram-positive or gram-negative, and it depends on how thick their peptidoglycan layer is. So it's based on permeability, if things can get in. A gram-positive has a really thick peptidoglycan layer. A gram-negative has a really thin peptidoglycan layer. So a thick peptidoglycan layer will be able to resist things from coming in because it's so thick. So these two different types can tell us which bacteria will be more resistant to certain antibiotics. Now the Archaebacteria are a little different. They do have a cell wall, but they have no peptidoglycan. A way to remember this is because the Archaebacteria are so ancient and old that they just don't have any pep in their stuff anymore. So, the ancient and old Archaea don't have any pep in their stuff. So, no peptidoglycan. We can also classify bacteria on whether they are going to be anaerobic or aerobic. Anaerobic cannot deal with oxygen. Aerobic needs or requires oxygen. Bacterial anatomy. Now we all know that they have a cell wall. With that cell wall comes a cell membrane. They have a flagella for movement. They have ribosomes for protein synthesis. They have pili, which are going to be used for reproduction. And plasmids. Now plasmids are little circular pieces of chromosome that are not part of their normal chromosome. So circular pieces of DNA. Now these plasmids can give them extra abilities. And then of course they have their chromosome in a nucleoid region. Life cycle, they go through binary fission because they are asexual. So it goes from one, it grows, and then splits into two. Now they can actually pass on genes to one another. So, it was on a shortcut through the hospital kitchen that Albert was first approached by a member of the antibiotic resistance. Hey kid, want to be a superbug? Well, stick some of this into your genome. Even penicillin won't be able to harm you. Well, we know that antibiotics are against living things. And we know that some bacteria can now resist or live even though we have given antibiotics. Now this passing of this gene or this chromosome piece here is known as conjugation, and this allows them to be able to adapt. So let's talk about some adaptations that we have. Bacteria can undergo conjugation. This is basically bacterial sex, exchange of DNA. The process of exchange of genetic information through this cell by cell-to-cell contact. Attaching the pili together creates a bridge that allows them to literally transfer pieces of DNA through from one cell to another. This may enhance survival or mutate them to antibiotic resistance.
Plasmids carry genes that code for antibiotic resistance. During conjugation, plasmids can be rapidly exchanged between bacteria through pili, which allow the exchange of genetic material.
Here we see a plate and it's got bacteria. All this white goop is going to be bacteria. On this plate, we also have placed certain antibiotic discs. Now if we take a look, we might see some clearing around these discs where the bacteria cannot grow. This means the antibiotic has worked. So it's worked here, it's killed off the bacteria here, 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 and here, and here. But the bacteria here didn't give a flying crud whether or not that antibiotic was there. So this bacteria is resistant to this antibiotic. Same here. It's grown up all around this antibiotic. So this one bacteria is resistant to two different antibiotics. Which factors influence growth? Well, temperature, of course. We have thermophiles that love the high temperatures, mesophiles that love the middle temperatures, and sacrophiles that love the low temperatures. We have oxygen, we have pH, and we have an energy source. All of these factors influence growth. Cocci bacteria means round bacteria. There are lots of different strains of them, but wherever you see coccus or cocci, it means it's going to be a round bacteria. So an example would be Streptococcus pneumoniae, that gives pneumonia. Streptococcus pyogenes, strep throat. And Staphylococcus aureus, which can give you toxic shock syndrome. All of these have coccus in them, which means they're going to be round-shaped. Bacillus is another shape that we see, bacillus or bacilli, and they're going to be rod-shaped. Bacillus cereus is in food, and that can just cause us food poisoning. Lactobacillus is found in yogurt. Spirillobacterium are going to be spirals. We have lots of different shapes, but the two major ones are going to be cocci and bacillus. Now, these are not just single cells. They can form chains together or groups together, such as Diplococcus. Well, Diplo is going to be two, so Diplococcus has two. Streptococcus is a chain. We also see that down here, and Streptobacillus is a chain. And they can also form clumps. We also have several other shapes. But again, the two major shapes I want you to know is cocci means round, and bacillus means rod. Diseases. We know that certain bacteria causes certain diseases. Well, Neisseria meningitidis actually causes meningitis, which is the swelling of our brain layer and causes pressure on the brain. Staphylococcus aureus can cause a skin infection that causes huge amounts of swelling and pustules at the site of the infection. Okay, MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, is known as the flesh-eating bacteria. It starts out small, looks like it's getting better, and then it starts eating away at the bacteria. Now, this next image is kind of graphic, so I'm giving you a heads up, and we're going to flash through it fairly quickly. But if MRSA is not treated quickly, it can continue to grow and eat out from around the infection, causing a huge, devastating patch of eaten flesh. And we're moving on. Strep throat can actually form in two different ways. We can see some bacteria cause strep throat with red dots, and some bacteria causes pustules back in your lymph nodes. Tuberculosis, or TB, is a lung infection, and it causes cells to form walls in your lungs around the bacteria. So if all of this blue is the bacteria, we would have cells form around them. What happens then is that it takes up space in your lungs to protect your body and wall off those bacteria. Now, your body walls it off, which is good, but it takes up room so you have less exchange of oxygen. Gingivitis. Up top we see normal teeth without the dye. On the bottom we see a dye that it shows up all the bacteria. Salmonella. It's found in different types of food if they're undercooked, sometimes in eggs, sometimes in meat. We've even seen it in peanut butter and on lettuce and tomatoes. And it causes food poisoning. Strain of 2000! You are the next class of drug-resistant bacteria. As humans continue to abuse and overuse antibiotics, your ranks will swell. So go out there and mutate. And remember, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So, bye for now.